What is up with it? Today we are back with a post ban list video. This is not going to be your regular Pluffy gameplay. This is going to be probably middle ladder. E Queen B versus Sabu. This is a deck list that I have been trying personally the last few days. I think it is really cool. Unfortunately, I don't think it's like best deck. It's probably not even necessarily the best version of Pluffy, but it is actually very strong, and it's very skill check. And it has a lot of positives. The first one being you win every single die roll. Here, Sabu chose to go first, which is what you're supposed to do versus Pluffy. Everyone in the world knows that you're supposed to go first versus Pluffy. However, versus this Pluffy variant, you actually choose to go second. And we'll get to see why as we watch over this. I'm actually going to be streaming myself playing this right after this. There was a moment where I was coping and I was like, this is what I'm going to play at Peoria. And I wasn't sure if I was going to show off this sort of list, because I do definitely think it's a little bit worse if people know you're playing it. Because one of the huge advantages is that you win every single die roll. Like, you want to go second, and because you're playing Pluffy, your opponent, wins the die roll and they imagine, oh, I should go first. Another advantage is, like, theoretically, one drops should be a lot less common in this meta game than they are in 09, right? Because Dofi was hit. Dofi was the number one deck that always had a one drop on board. So your sugar should normally become like a free blocker here. It didn't this game, unfortunately, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and just swing into this Uta because we're going to play Rosinante. So swinging into the leader doesn't matter anyways. We'll go ahead and draw two. And you can see already, like, our hand is very big. So versus decks that can play Pudding, this deck can be very scary to play, because, there's going to be a lot of times when you're playing this deck where you can have like 12 cards in hand genuinely. So we're going to go ahead and counter out of this one. We're going to go ahead and give a 2K. We could have given the sugar, I think is probably a little bit better. This 7 will go ahead and take. This 5-cost Luffy, by the way, do not sleep on this 5-cost Luffy. That card is bananas. We're going to go ahead and ramp here. We found a Gum, which is awesome. We found a Gum, which is awesome. We're going to go ahead and we're for sure playing the Doflamingo out this turn. The question is, what else are we doing? We're definitely never dying is the good news. We're going to go ahead and do a little test 6 at life. Honestly, I wouldn't even hate swinging 5 at life first. And then potentially swinging at the Luffy. This deck is a lot more slow, try and stabilize, and then go wide with these big creatures, where you're just trying to outvalue your opponent throughout the course of the game. You're not necessarily trying to aggro kill them the same way that standard Pluffy does, which me personally, I just enjoy a little bit more methodical gameplay like that. Like, I know I'm known as like the Dofi guy, and Dofi was a very aggro deck whose goal in that format was to kill. But it's not actually the style of gameplay that I personally lean towards. I actually, this deck is like my dream deck, which is why I was coping on it. Like, I think it's really cool that you're like going wide, you're generating a ton of resources, and you're looking your opponent in the eyes and saying, like, look, I'm at 1 HP, I'm at 0 HP, like, press W, go ahead and kill me. I've got 15 cards in hand, including 3 Gum Giants. Like, I dare you. Really cool deck. So they're gonna go ahead and swing 8. We're gonna go ahead and Gum out of this. We're actually gonna keep the event in hand. I know it seems a little counterintuitive to not discard the brick, but the Rosinante is going to turn that brick into a draw too. So no reason for us to have to do that. I think we can go ahead and start with a 9 here at this Luffy. They're probably going to Lucky Root block and KO one of our Rosinantes. That's fine. That's kind of what we expect to happen. We'll go ahead and go 5 at life and see if they're willing to lead effect. They are. It's probably a little too cheap for them to counter out of this if we swing at the Luffy, so we can go ahead and swing at life. They don't necessarily want to go down to 3 too quickly either. But yep, we'll go ahead and turn this event into a draw 2, and there we go. We found another Gum Gum. So you can see like this deck just like gets a lot of cards. And something we haven't seen in this replay yet that I hope we'll get to see in by the end of it is that it also plays Senior Pink, which is a card that is played in Sugar. Obviously, all of these cards being played in Sugar. But the thing that is really nice about Senior Pink in this deck, which I think is like kind of the real idea, the whole basis around this deck is that Gum Gum Giant. Oh, here we go. Here's the Senior Pink. I'm not 100% sure if we'll play it this turn. I mean, I imagine we will, but maybe not. I mean, we should pretty reasonably be able to. I think we can just start with a 9 at the Luffy, or maybe even a 10. Really, either one. I think maybe a 10 is slightly better. But 9 is actually very reasonable here. And if he wants to counter out of it, we'll just keep poking it. I will take like infinite cards out of his hand. So really, probably 9 is better. Because if he wants to counter out of it, we'll just swing 6 at it 2 more times. But Gum Gum Giant, most broken card in the game. I mean, Gum Gum Giant and Rebecca are very clearly the 2 strongest cards in the game now that Gecko Moira is gone, in my opinion. And having a deck that like draws into it and recycles it, it's just like super, super based, in my opinion. We'll go ahead and swing 6 again. I have to imagine this time it will die, but maybe not. Even if it doesn't die, we can swing at it 1 more time. There we go. Because we'll be able to Doflamingo into Senior Pink, which will give us a Standing Dawn, the Senior Pink will, as you guys will see here. I'm sure not everyone is super familiar with how this deck works. I imagine we'll be grabbing a Gum Gum here. I don't hate grabbing Hell's Judgment, as it does kind of 2 for 1. You know, like if he wants to try and play a 10 drop on this turn, we'll be able to counter out both the Beckman and the Shanks for 1 card. Giant gives us a little bit more filter though. So maybe Giant's the better grab here, honestly. But Hell's also allows us to keep our Dawn a little bit higher, which isn't the biggest deal because it looks as though we only have 7 Dawn on our board, but really we have 9 because as soon as our opponent swings, yep, it will trigger our Doflamingo, which will give us 2 Standing Dawn. So yeah, here we're just going to get max value from this Hell's Judgment. He's trying to play a 10 drop and we're going to be able to use 1 card to counter out of two swings. Or he's not actually going to play the 10 drop. He's going to go ahead and play the Beckman. And as you see, like that Hell's Judgment got us out of 2 7k swings basically, right? Because that's probably what his original plan was to go 7-7. Which versus most decks, 7-7 is incredible, right? It would take, if you wanted to counter out of both, it would take a total of 4 cards. We used 1. Right, and we used 1 card that we got off of our Senior Pink, so you can really see how this deck has a lot of skill checks. And the thing is, it's not even necessarily a skill check, right? I mean, it is. Like in that situation, our opponent should have known we had Hell's Judgment and maybe didn't swing the way that he swung. But the thing is, we play a bunch of different events that boost or minus in different ways. So there's 3 different things that the deck can really do, right? Either he can +4 with like a Gum Gum Giant or a Dragon's Breath or whatever that card is called. So that disincentivizes them from swinging 8, right? So if they don't want to swing 8, okay, maybe they'll swing 7. But if they swing 7, then they get punished by Hell's Judgment, right? And if they don't want to swing 7, they're like, okay, I'll poke with a 6 and then I'll do my bigger swing next. Boom, now they're punished by Beam Sword, which +2 and rests a character. So kind of almost no matter what numbers they really swing, you're going to be able to get a ton of value from one of those events. And a lot of times you'll actually have all 3 in hand. So like here, he's trying to swing 7. This would just play into a Hell's Judgment if I had it. We could choose to Gum Gum Giant that. I think that's very reasonable if we chose to. But I think it's also fine to not do it. Yeah, now he's going to swing 8. See, again, like these numbers, kind of almost no matter what number your opponent swings, you're going to be getting max value from anything, right? Like 8, they're playing crazy into Gum Gum Giant and Dragon's Breath. 7, they're playing into Hell's Judgment. 6, they're playing into Beam Sword. Even 5, they're playing into Beam Sword, right? If they swing 5 and they're not swinging with like a big character first, boom, now you Beam Sword them, they get super punished. And even if they're swinging, 9, 10, whatever, they're still giving your Gum Gum Giant maximum value, right? If they're attaching Dawn to, like a 7k body and they're putting 2 Dawn to it so they can swing 9, they're using a 9k swing which will essentially take 1 card out of your hand. Because you're going to Gum Gum, that takes no cards out of your hand, and then you're going to 1k, So we're going to go ahead and 7. I think this deck is really, really cool. I actually think it's genuinely good. I don't think it's best deck in format, which is like why I'm fine talking about it. Like if I really thought I was going to take this to Peroria, maybe I wouldn't be making a video about it. But like this is a deck that I think like I very likely will like take to locals. Maybe I'll even play it in a Treasure Cup. Who knows? Probably not. I'm a little bit too serious for that. To be honest, but I think the deck is super cool. I think it has a lot of things that I really, really like in a deck. Really almost everything. Like it can go wide, it can go semi-tall. It has a ton of card generation, card recycling. I think it's by far the coolest deck that I've seen, to be honest. I'm in love with it. I'm going to be streaming it today. Probably literally right after I post this video. And I hope you all have enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.